Greetings, Sanbonani, Dumelang, Salamu Alaikum. My name is Dr. Malusi Mncube from the University of Johannesburg here in South Africa. We recently hosted the most prestigious, very successful G20 summit under the very capable presidency of Cyril Ramaphosa amidst endless provocations from the global usual suspect. Be that as it may, the 21st century has witnessed unprecedented convergences of global crises that challenge conventional notions of sovereignty, economic governance, and human rights. From the illegal invasion of Iraq in 2003 under the presidency of George Bush, remember? It's either you're with us or against us, to the destruction of Libya in 2011, again under the leadership of the United States of America, from the enduring conflicts in Gaza and other parts of the world to the present crisis in Venezuela, the illegal 12-day war against a sovereign state of Iran, Haiti, Sudan, Democratic Republic of Congo, and the threat against Nigeria. The international system has repeatedly revealed selective enforcement of norms and structural inequalities. These flashpoints underscore persistent asymmetries in global power, wherein dominant states exercise disproportionate influence over economic, security, and humanitarian crises. Within this context, the Group of 20, G20, represents the principal forum for global economic coordination, yet its potential to foster justice, ethical governance, and accountability remains underutilized. Drawing on South Africa's post-apartheid Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which successfully combined truth-telling, moral accountability, and restorative justice, a global Truth and Reconciliation Commission could serve as a transnational mechanism to examine past violations of international law which carry on unabated. This would include interventions in Iraq, Libya, and other countries of the globe, and systematic financial coercion by the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Personnel to be involved would be from the International Court of Justice, from the International Criminal Court, and this would strengthen the G20's credibility while linking economic governance to normative accountability. Founded in 1999 in response to the Asian financial crisis, the G20 sought to stabilize a fragmented global economy and prevent systematic crises. Bringing together 19 countries and the European Union, it represented approximately 85% of the global gross domestic product, 75% of international trade, and 2/3 of the world population. Initially conceived as a crisis management platform, the G20 gradually expanded its remit to include financial regulation, global development, climate finance, and technological governance. The G20 has historically convened extraordinary summits during periods of acute instability, most notably during the global financial crisis of 2008 to 2009, when coordinated stimulus packages and regulatory reforms mitigated the worst impacts of the economic collapse. Subsequent frameworks, such as the Seoul Consensus of 2010, sought to promote inclusive growth and integrate Global South perspectives into international development discourse. Yet criticism persists regarding the structural exclusion, limited legitimacy, and selective engagement with humanitarian crises, including ongoing conflicts in Palestine, Sudan, Democratic Republic of Congo, amongst many others. The selective enforcement of international law remains a persistent challenge. The 2003 invasion of Iraq, executed without the explicit United Nations Security Council authorization, resulted in protracted instability and significant civilian casualties and loss of lives. NATO's intervention in Libya in 2011, while framed as a civilian protection, precipitated regime collapse and enduring lawlessness. In Gaza, Decades of conflict continue to be exacerbated by inconsistent international responses, and we see this play out and has played out in other areas like Afghanistan. This demonstrates the limitations of multilateral frameworks in preventing escalation and enforcing norms. Economic coercion and sanctions in Venezuela and Haiti have compounded humanitarian crises, undermining state capacity. Iran's sovereignty has faced repeated challenges, including the illegal 12-day war with threats to its nuclear program. African states such as Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo exemplify the intersection of conflict, resource exploitation, and weak governance, while Nigeria has experienced both domestic political threats and external pressures. Collectively, these flashpoints highlight the need for G20 agenda that integrates justice and normative accountability with economic coordination. Sherpas of the G20 serve as the primary architects of G20 summit preparation, translating complex policy issues into actionable outcomes. Under South Africa's presidency, Sherpas are uniquely positioned to advance ethical imperatives alongside technical coordination. Key responsibilities include embedding African and Global South priorities, advocating the Ezulwini Consensus for equitable United Nations Security Council representation, promoting the revitalization of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, and reforming the International Atomic Energy Agency. Sherpas can also operationalize the Global Truth and Reconciliation Commission framework, ensuring that summit outcomes link financial coordination with normative accountability. Historical precedent indicates potential for resistance from dominant powers, particularly the US, which has historically opposed inclusive participation of states such as Iran, Cuba, North Korea, Venezuela, and Zimbabwe in preparatory Sherpa discussions. Nevertheless, diplomatic negotiation, consensus building, and alignment with like-minded states enable South Africa's Sherpas to advance an inclusive, multipolar world. Now, let's do a quick SWOT analysis of the G20 that took place here in South Africa recently. Let's look at the strengths. The G20 convenes the world's largest economies, shaping financial development and technological norms. It has demonstrated crisis management capacity and the ability to mobilize climate and developmental finance. Basically, this happened at the G20 here in South Africa amidst all the provocations and the boycott. Right. Also, it has weaknesses that we can improve on. The past G20s up to the South African G20. The G20's exclusivity, lack of binding enforcement of international law, and selective engagement with humanitarian crises undermine legitimacy. So we can improve on that and work on that. Opportunities, integration of ethical oversight, Global South representation, United Nations security reform, the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty revitalization, and the International Atomic Energy Agency modernization, and the Global Truth and Reconciliation Commission implementation. What could be the possible threats? Political obstruction, as is happening now. President Donald Trump of the United States of America has publicly, globally announced that South Africa will not be invited to come to the United States and attend G20. G20, by the way, is not owned by South Africa or by the European Union or by African Union. Neither is it owned by the United States of America. It's globally owned. So the threats is political obstruction, proxy conflicts, unilateral coercion, and systematic shocks, including climate disasters and pandemics. Now, the Global Truth and Reconciliation Commission would examine, for instance, past and ongoing violation of international law, including Iraq, Libya, Gaza, Iran, Haiti, Venezuela, Nigeria, Sudan, and the Democratic Republic of Congo and many other areas in the world. It would also evaluate the structural consequences of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank policies on the Global South. Collaboration with the ICJ, International Court of Justice, and the International Criminal Court personnel ensures enforceability and credibility, linking economic governance with normative oversight and reinforcing the G20's legitimacy. On the front of policy reform imperatives, financial governance must prioritize equity in International Monetary Fund and World Bank structures, debt relief or cancellation of odious debt, and South-South development finance. Security frameworks should prioritize conflict resolution in Palestine, Sudan, DRC, Ukraine, Iran, and Venezuela, limiting unilateral interventions while empowering regional actors. Institutional reforms should address United Nations Security Council representation, the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty compliance, and the International Atomic Energy Agency governance, emphasizing Global South inclusion. Number one, establish the Global Truth and Reconciliation Commission with International Court of Justice and International Criminal Court involvement. Enable meaningful participation of non-member Global South nations in summit procedures. Implement multipolar institutional restructuring, equitable financial governance, and regional conflict mediation. Integrate ethical oversight into development, climate, and technological policies. Ensure Sherpa preparatory work systematically addresses flashpoints and normative accountability. The G20's relevance depends on integrating economic coordinations with ethical and normative leadership. South Africa's presidency presents a historic opportunity to transform the G20 into a platform capable of promoting justice, accountability, and multipolar equity by leveraging Sherpa processes, embedding normative reforms, and institutionalizing mechanisms such as the Global Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The G20 can evolve into a forum that fosters shared prosperity, shared global justice, and principled governance. Once again, congratulations to all the participants of the G20 under the presidency, capable presidency of Cyril Ramaphosa. This was followed and had been done by the peace mission of President Cyril Ramaphosa that he took with the African Union to Ukraine and to Russia to demonstrate our non-alignment, to demonstrate that South Africa and the African Union, we are for peace. We are not for hegemony. We are not for dominance. We are for multipolarity and a shared space, shared prosperity for all humanity. Siyabonga. Thank you very much. Well done, South Africa. Well done to the presidency of Cyril Ramaphosa, and well done to all the participants of African Union, European Union, and everybody who attended. We look forward that the G20 in the United States of America will be very, very successful, and it will include all its members. America does have progressive peoples, America does have progressive scholars, progressive citizens who know that the world that we share, it must be equitably shared by everybody. Thank you, Nyabonga. Thank you very much. Salamu alaikum.